let me first of all thank the Future Food Institute for the beautiful initiative it's taken in Singapore, and possibly for the future opening of a future food hub in this town. Singapore is a country which has already quite a deep familiarity with the Mediterranean diet. They appreciate a lot not only the health implications of Mediterranean diet, but also the taste of Mediterranean food and ingredients and techniques. That's why there is an already very well educated and prepared market here for Italian and more in general for Mediterranean product. The initiative that the Future Food Institute has taken is culturally brilliant, in my opinion, because they are going to show how Mediterranean diet can be declined into something which is closer to the availability of local ingredients, So we are very much interested in what our chefs and our experts have been able to achieve, and I wish everybody good luck and see you very soon in Singapore. Thanks a lot.
Hello everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you to the ambassador Raffaele Langella and to Sara Roversi, the president of Future Food Institute. Thank you for organizing this important moment of reflection and also celebration of Mediterranean diet. A lifestyle that UNESCO has recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in November 2010 in Nairobi, in Kenya. My name is Stefano Pisani, I'm the mayor of Pollica. Pollica is a small town in the southern Italy, in the Campania region, and precisely the largest protected area in Europe, the Cilento National Park. Pollica is very important, and also Cilento is very important, because the UNESCO recognized the Pollica as an emblematic community of Mediterranean diet, together other community around the Mediterranean, for example, Chef Chawen in Morocco, Coroni in Greece, Soria in Spain, Tavira in Portugal, Brakenvar in Croatia, and Cyprus. This is the 7 emblematic community, 7 places where the UNESCO recognized the Mediterranean diet emblematic community. Pollica and Cilento are extraordinary and fascinating places. The landscape is very, very beautiful, and the beauty of landscape is combined with a high quality of life for the inhabitants of Cilento. The people live very often 100 years old, live long and well. And the question is, what is the secret? Why the people live so long? Why the environment is so beautiful and protected? Why the biodiversity is very high, is much higher than in other places in Italy? Think in Cilento, in the national park, is preserved the 33% of biodiversity in Italy. The answer of the question is the Mediterranean diet. Many people, when they hear about the Mediterranean diet, image only the excellent Italian cuisine, the taste of made in Italy products. Few know that is the result of millenary culture. A long history start from the ancient Greece, and in particular you can find something about Mediterranean diet in the archaeological area of Elea Velia. Elea Velia is an ancient city, was built 2000 years ago, where lived important philosophers such as Parmenide and Zenone, and is very close to Pollica. The ancient culture and also the tradition of Mediterranean peoples together innovation that have come from other parts of the world, is the perfect. The Mediterranean diet is the perfect balance of all the things: culture, tradition, and innovation. This mix was discovered by an American scientist, Ansel Keys, and his wife, Margaret. Ansel Keys and Margaret write for the first time the Mediterranean diet as the name of the way of life, the lifestyle of people of Cilento, for the first time in 1975 in a book called Eat Well and Stay Well, the Mediterranean Way. Today, 10 years after UNESCO recognition, the Mediterranean diet presents itself to the world not only as a lifestyle. First, not only a diet. In the present, not only a lifestyle, but also and above all as a development model that preserves the environment. In fact, it guarantees and reduces use of resources for production of food, protects biodiversity, and much more. We just have to look to the future and hope that many people will discover the value of Mediterranean diet. And as soon as possible, I invite you to discover the homeland of Mediterranean diet. I want to invite to everybody to Pollica and Cilento, the real place of Mediterranean diet. Thanks again to everyone, in particular to the ambassador Langella and also Sara Roversi. I want also thanks to Adam Lyle, the executive chairman Padang and Co, Michael Patane, industry expert, food and technology production, Tim Ong, CEO and founder of Victus Group, Veronica Cavallini, Nutritionist. Sorry for the pronunciation. Thank you another time to everyone. See you next time. See you in Pollica.
Welcome everyone. I'm Sara Roversi. I'm the founder of the Future Food Institute, and I'm very glad to be with you today. Today with you, we are of course celebrating the Italian excellences and the week celebrating the Italian cuisine in the world, but also for us, it's a way to celebrate Mediterranean diet. 2020 marks the 10th anniversary of the nomination of the Mediterranean diet as one of the UNESCO World Heritage. And of course, we consider it also an Italian legacy. When I started the Future Food Ecosystem 7 years ago, I was really intrigued by the thoughts around food that are really highlighting all the different shades and all the different values related to food. Food is energy, food is life, food is connection, socialization, food is traditions, food is everything for us because it's the thing that is connecting us with the world. It's identity, rituals, but also food is a language. We don't need to speak the language of another country when we have the chance to taste the flavors, the consistency, the mood, the sounds, and live a food experience. Food is the first language. But also, we know that the entire food system is one of the sectors that, first of all, is connecting all of us. And second, is connecting all of us with all the most relevant challenges the entire humanity is facing. The first picture here is showing us the big challenges that we are facing by thinking that we need to feed the planet, a planet where still we know that there are tons of paradoxes. Millions of people fighting for malnutrition because they have different disease related to their eating habits, and millions of people fighting because they don't have access to food. But we have 2 billion of people fighting for overnutrition and 8 million people dying for hunger. Then we have another paradox, because the entire food industry is one of the industries that is very much affected by the effect of climate change, but also is one of those that are the most responsible for the impact on the planet, because the 37% of the global gas emission are generated by our wrong eating habits and our obsolete way of producing food that still are not taking care about the environment enough. And last is thinking about food waste, because we know that 1/3 of the food globally produced is not ending in our plates, but is wasted. And when we think about this 1/3, we need to count 1/3 of the energy used, 1/3 of the water used to grow this food, the labor, all the resources that have been wasted with this 1/3 of food that is gonna end up in the trash. So thinking about the values of food and thinking about the challenges that the food system is facing, we are thinking also about the future. How much we're going to feed 10 billion people in a sustainable way? Which are the sustainable eating habits, the sustainable lifestyle we should implement to leave the planet like a better place? And so starting with this big question on mind, we created Future Food. We created the Future Food Institute, and we started really investigating how technology, with the cultural revolution we have been facing in the past decades, has been really hacking and transforming our relationship with food and with the environment. Starting with how we produce food, which are the new models that we are implementing in the production system. Thinking about the topic of making food accessible, affordable for all, and safe for all. Thinking about the values that we give to food, food as a medicine, and food and the new foods that the world is going to eat in the future. The lifestyle, and how our lifestyle is changing due to technologies that are transforming our interactions with kitchens, but also with the cooking habits and how much we are cooking, how much we are preserving our tradition, how much we are spending time in the kitchen. And last but not least, how technologies have been changing our awareness related to food and how much we know about the food we are eating now. To do that was a complex goal. We actually decided to create an ecosystem, not a company, not one startup, not one organization, but we understood that we needed to create something more. A group of people working all for the same mission and an ecosystem that can actually help the entire global food system to face the challenges we know are the most relevant for the entire humanity. So to do that, we created an ecosystem that is focused on 3 main pillars. The knowledge one, education, running programs, master's programs, school programs, activities that we run together with different United Nations agencies and trying to engage the broader society, organizations, institutions, a process that is both top-down and bottom-up. Then we understood that it was needed to find physical space that actually can host people, that can facilitate casual collision, that can host young innovators, that needs to prototype in a safe environment. And those hubs, those living labs, are crossroads where we try to involve the entire community, the industry, institutions, and youth, innovators, scientists. Last but not least, we talk about innovation, and we have an R&D team that is based in different parts of the world, in Asia, US, and Europe as well. And this team is working and supporting the industry and institution to, say, accelerate the transition that is needed now. To do that, we created a global ecosystem because we strongly believe that the challenges we are facing are planetarian challenges, are humanitarian challenges, are not the challenges of us living in Italy. So it's something that we decided to spread around the world, creating a global network. But so we know how much food is interconnected with the topic of sustainability. And this is the picture that I like the most because we started really to connect all the 17 sustainable development goals with the topic of food. And we suddenly saw that food is interconnected with everything, all our actions. And we were looking for a solution. We were looking for something that could help us to navigate the complexity. And we found the answers going back in the history. Today, we're here celebrating Mediterranean diet. And I want to talk to you about Mediterranean diet because we found on Mediterranean diet many of the answers to the big questions we had. This year, with the global pandemic, my life completely changed. My life completely changed because I was used to fly around the world every week in a different continent, visiting our colleagues around, and I was not focused enough on the true essential values of what we do. This year, we had the chance to stay more in our country and to host at least one of our boot camps that we organized together with FAO that was already planned and where the main topic was designing climate smart kitchens, sustainable kitchens, and study how we're going to eat in the future, which are the lifestyle and the eating habits that can really help us to develop a new way of living within the Sustainable Development Framework. So our bootcamp was hosted in Pollica from Mayor Pisani and from the entire community. In September, we were there and we involved the students coming almost from all over the world. It was pretty amazing to not only talk about amazing food, tasty food and recipe, but actually to discover which are the values of Mediterranean diet. We have been talking about Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals came to life in 2015, have been announced in 2015. The same year, in Italy, we were hosting the World Expo in Milan, where the main topic was feeding the planet, energy for life. And again, the same year, in Paris, in December, have been signed the Paris Agreement. In COP21, for the first time, all the member states agreed on which are the targets we need to achieve to protect the environment. So it was an important year, 2015. And I think that that was really a milestone because for the first time, people started understanding the deep connection between the health of the planet and the health of people. If we now take the Mediterranean diet and the origins and the history of Mediterranean diet, we can easily see how many connections there are. And there were there since almost 2,500 years. Yes, because in Pollica, in Cilento, just a few kilometers from Pollica actually, in Velia, Elea Velia, some philosophers, Zenone and Parmenide, were already studying the relationship and the need of finding balance and harmony between humans and planet. And we started our bootcamp this summer in Pollica, really sitting on the ruins where Zeno and Parmenide were debating and studying and thinking about this concept, the concept of nature and man living in harmony with nature. And I'm talking about them because, of course, if we think about Mediterranean diet, we need to go back in the history and find and trying to connect the dots within the industry. And those dots are going to connect us and show us what's the picture of the Mediterranean diet that we know today. I want to still stay in the same area, Cilento and the Mediterranean basins, and let's say the same geographical place, just a few kilometers away. We found out that after some centuries, there were another school that came to life. It was not related to philosophy or philosophers, but actually we found that the Scuola Medica Salernitana, the medical school from Salerno, came to life, and Scuola Medica Salernitana was declared as one of or the first Western medical school that came to life. So again, we're talking about something that is healing and is healing people here. So in the same place, in the same area, some centuries after the philosophers, some centuries after the establishment of the first medical school in the Middle Age, the Scuola Medica Salernitana, we had two other very important people that create another milestones, that marked another milestones in our calendar, that are Margaret and Ansel Keys. Those two scientists came in Italy from US after the World War. After the World War, they came to Italy, and they basically were very curious about the life and the longevity of the population living in this specific area of Mediterranean. And they started studying the correlation between their lifestyle, the food that they were eating, the ecosystem where they were living, and the different disease overall related to cardiovascular disease. Understanding that this specific way of living, that is named Mediterranean diet, diet in Greek means lifestyle, not just what we're eating, but a complete set of values, rituals, process, and of course also ingredients, but not only ingredients, commensality, socialization, a set of cultural elements that are creating the concept of Mediterranean diet. So studying that, they marked for the first time the name Mediterranean diet, a way to eat well and stay well. Margaret and Ansel Keys are two very famous scientists. Ansel Keys was the inventor of the K ration of the American soldiers. They were studying those topics very deeply, and they basically made the miracle happen. So finally, we had the Mediterranean diet declared as something that the entire world now knows. Of course, those informations in the past decades have been studied from many different perspectives, and all of those studies gave us the opportunity really to understand which is in depth the relationships between good health and what is good for our, say, our way of living from the medical perspective and the impact of what we are eating on our health. So thinking about food as a medicine, but also our planet. And after some years, This picture came to life, and many organizations started studying the correlation between what we are eating and the pyramid of Mediterranean diet and the impact on the environment, finding that there were a perfect balance. So here I want to go back to our friends Parmenide and Zeno, that 2,500 years ago were already studying this balance, saying that this is actually what we should follow. Always picking foods that can, of course, be good and beneficial for us, but also that are not killing the environment. And this is the perfect example of the Mediterranean diet. And this is the reason why we consider Mediterranean diet as the perfect way of living in balance with the ecosystem. So, of course, Mediterranean diet, I think, is a beautiful example of what we need now. Why? Because it's not something that belongs just to Italy, but it's something that is celebrating diversity. And diversity is something that we need to celebrate nowadays. We need to learn how to celebrate diversity and to understand that diversity is a value. It's something that is enriching everyone. And this is the perfect example of the Mediterranean diet and the Mediterranean Pisani. Mediterranean diet has been declared 10 years ago from UNESCO as one of the world's heritage, intangible heritage. And UNESCO identified the 7 emblematic communities that are representing Mediterranean diet. For Italy, Pollica, and let's say not only Pollica, but Cilento, so an entire area, not just one city, because the visionary mayor Angelo Vassallo many years ago said, no, we should not just candidate one city, but the entire region. This region is the one still representing and embedding all the values of Mediterranean diet. So now I just want to leave you to the more actionable part of our workshop. But before that, I want to invite you. I want to invite you because we strongly believe that to keep Mediterranean diet alive for the next centuries and millennials ahead, we need to invest a lot. Invest in education, and this is what we do within the Future Food ecosystem. Build the community and feed the community, but overall, being able to innovate within tradition. And this is something that is such an important challenge everywhere, because every country, every region, every city has food traditions to preserve, but not preserve like in a cage. Preserve being able to renovate them and drive them to the next future ahead. Future Food is very proud to be one of the partners of the FAO, but the partner that created a very specific program together with FAO, the Food and Climate Shapers Bootcamp. And I'm talking to you about that because this is an invite to the entire community. And we really care about training next generation ahead, but also create spaces for people to share knowledge about ancient traditions and learn how to create a climate conscious way of living. We know that Pollica and Cilento is a great source of inspiration for all of that. And we hosted in 2020 an amazing bootcamp together with all our guests from all over the world and, of course, also FAO. And now we want to invite you in 2021 to take part in our Food and Climate Shapers Bootcamp, a Mediterranean edition, because Mediterranean diet is something that you can learn, of course, reading a book. But trust me, living Mediterranean diet in the place where it was born is such an incredible gift. It has been a great honor to be with you today in Singapore. I thank so much Ambassador Langella and Mayor Pisani for inspiring us about Mediterranean diet. And now I'm very delighted to invite in this virtual stage our partner in Singapore, Adam Lyle. And we're very excited because in 2021, the Future Food Institute is going to open a real living lab in Singapore. Before I leave you, I want to thank Valentina Righi for inviting all of us around this virtual table right before Christmas. So I want to wish you the best for the next year ahead. And now I leave the stage to Adam Lyle.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Adam. I'm joining you today from Incubator here in Singapore. Incubator is Singapore's only licensed co-working kitchen space. We're very happy to be here in celebration of the Mediterranean diet. Padang, the company that I co-founded, is very pleased to be partnering with the Future Food Institute from Bologna in Italy. I had the great pleasure to get to Bologna earlier this year before COVID struck. Spent many days with Andrea and Sara. We're now very pleased that shortly we'll be able to open the Singapore Future Food Living Lab. Singapore, as many of you would know, is very focused on food. Has been for a long time. It celebrates food in many ways similar to the way Italy celebrates food. Singapore, however, doesn't produce a great deal of its own food. In fact, it only produces 10% of its nutritional needs. There is a government strategy to produce 30% by 2030. That's a big increase. So Singapore is very focused on how we can improve what we do, and also is very focused on future food. In fact, only 2 weeks ago, Singapore became the first country in the world to allow the sale of cultivated meat with Just Eat's chicken. So the future of food is very important to Singapore, and so that's why we are excited to be establishing the Future Food Living Lab here in Singapore. But today the star is the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet, as many of you know, is celebrating its 10th anniversary this month. It's 10 years since UNESCO listed it as a cultural identity. Now, last month, Singapore horticulture was recommended to also join such a list, and we are hoping this month to hear the good news. So in many ways, this is another activity that Singapore and the Mediterranean share. And I think it's really important because horticulture is just that. It's about a culture. It's not just the food, it's about the culture. And the Mediterranean diet being listed by UNESCO is not just a list of ingredients. It is about a lifestyle. It's the connection to the land, how we grow food, how we prepare food, how we share food. That's what the Mediterranean diet is all about. It is about culture. It is about a mindset. So today, I'm very pleased to be joined by two friends, Tim Ong, a great Singaporean-based chef, who I'll introduce a little more shortly, and Mike Patane, who's the head of innovation for DSM. Okay, I'm very fortunate this afternoon to be joined by two great chefs. One's a full-time chef, and the other one is a very passionate cook. First of all, Tim Ong, also an Australian like me, but Tim's been in Singapore now, how long?
For 10 years now.
10 years. Now, Tim is your classic Singapore-based food entrepreneur. Not only does he run 5-star restaurants, he runs cooking classes for kids, he has a catering business, and I mean there's just so much that you're doing, and of course is regularly featured on TV. So we're very fortunate to have Tim with us this afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Great. And on Tim's right, Mike Patane, Italian, but also an Australian. So there's a bit of an Australian story going here today.
We should be having beers instead of water.
Well, I agree. And Mike Patane, who's also a cook, but Mike is the head of innovation at DSM here in Singapore. But he combines his interest for food with what he does with innovation and nutrition at DSM, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So I guess why don't I start with you, Mike? In terms of when you think about the Mediterranean diet, what are the key principles that you think that you really want to focus on when cooking the Mediterranean way in Singapore?
Adam, as you know, I grew up in an Italian family, so getting around the kitchen table is all part of family life. Being in Asia, sitting around the family kitchen is also part of way of life. So being able to have everyone in the kitchen cooking together is probably one of the greatest joys you can have. And being able to use fresh ingredients. Everything that's in Singapore, because it's such a small place, is brought into the country fresh all the time. So being able to find fresh ingredients and cook on the day, very similar to being in Italy.
But do you find that Tim, that it's as easy to find everything that you think when you're sort of listing out the perfect Mediterranean diet and listing? Do you get everything here easily?
Yeah, I think as a chef, we're very privileged to be here in Singapore. We get everything under the sun, all the produce from Australia, local produce from Thailand, Malaysia, and even as far as America or Europe, we're also getting produce from, or at least access to produce in Singapore. So I know there's a focus by 2030 to be 30% food independent as a Singapore mandate, but I think, traveling to other parts of Asia, like say Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand even, it's harder to get all the ingredients you would want. But Singapore, is an amazing place to get everything.
Well, yeah, it is a rock star in terms of food, and I guess where do you see innovation playing in this? You wear the innovation hat at DSM. Do you sort of see how you can combine, Mediterranean diet with innovation in Asia? Sort of mix it all up?
That's a really good question. And mixing it up and combining it is exactly the way that you would try and do that. Most people go out and they shop every day. And to be able to look at local available raw materials, so local fruits, local vegetables, local seafood, and being able to cook with magnificent oil and just have those fresh ingredients. But the choice of being in this part of the world is that you have so many different vegetables, so many different types of choices, that to be able to blend recipes is fantastic.
But do you feel that we've got the right mindset if the Mediterranean diet, the lifestyle in Singapore is quite different to the way that we live in Europe when we're there. Do you think it's sort of more difficult to live the Mediterranean diet in Asia?
To be able to find really fresh Italian tomatoes, it's a little bit harder. But to be able to find fantastic other vegetables, to look at wonderful fresh green beans, to look at wonderful eggplants that are brought in from around the world, to take incredibly good fish that's really has all these wonderful omega-3s and 6s for you. So to be able to cook food quickly, which is what is done in Asia a lot, being able to keep the nutrients in, is a fantastic way to blend it together.
Yeah.
And for you, Tim, you do a lot of work with kids. Do you see sort of an interesting play in there for the Mediterranean diet, the way that you teach kids?
Yeah. Disclaimer, kids always love to go for cookies and brownies, like pizza. Let's not, get ahead of ourselves. But I think there's definitely an element of play and education that I think as chefs, we're responsible to teach the next generation how to eat well. What does it look to eat around a dinner table? So, every Friday we invite the kids to invite their parents for lunch. We get them to set up the table. They will cook fresh produce. We've done meze platters. We've done, we do the burgers, the pizzas, all that stuff. But, we might do like a hummus and vegetable crudités. So we incorporate elements of Mediterranean diet, or just even the idea of sitting down at a table, having great conversations. And, food is just a catalyst for us to, grow closer together as a family unit or with friends. But I think for the Mediterranean diet, definitely education is a big thing. To understand the mindset, because it's a shift from, I guess, what we've been told, like eat lots of red meat, eat lots of protein, to eating more fish, seafood, more vegetables, more fiber into your diet. better quality oil, which I think is a huge problem here in Asia because palm oil, vegetable oils, they're so accessible and cheap.
Right.
But getting a good extra virgin olive oil or something along these lines is just something that we're slowly getting there.
Slowly getting. So what are we going to cook this afternoon?
This afternoon, I thought, we went to the hawker market this morning, so we got the ideas, influence, inspiration from this local, very easily available, around Singapore. So we got some shrimp. I think this cooking in some nice oil, so extra virgin olive oil slowly, with some garlic, some chili, because I think it's also the flavors, right? So if we adopted too much of the Mediterranean flavors, like not enough spicy, not enough garlic, it's not punchy enough. So we'll do something punchy. And obviously looking at grains, actually there's a lot of Asian grains available. So something like pearl barley, it's something that's usually drank as a drink or in a soup. But we can actually make it into a salad. So we're just going to get some local vegetables, chop that through, make a nice salad, some nice garlic prawns on top. And I think cooking should be easy, simple, and it shouldn't be like a lot of time, effort, energy, preparation, no stress. We're here to enjoy ourselves.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Blend of both worlds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Asia and Mediterranean.
Yep, definitely.
All right, a couple of final questions before we get down to it. What do you think, Mike, Asia can learn from Europe in terms of cooking? And then Tim, I'm going to ask you the reverse.
No worries, got it. Okay.
What Asia can learn from Europe is to have less carbohydrates in their food. Asian diet has a lot of noodles, a lot of rice, a lot of broth. And what European diets have is lots of good value oil, lots of polyunsaturated oils, and lots of vitamins that come from fresh vegetables. So the freshness of food and replacing some of the carbohydrates with foods that are more fibrous could be one of the ways of being able to lift the palate and make Asian food a little bit more healthy.
Yeah, I think what Europe can learn from Asia, if there was anything. But I think, we can be inspired by just the boldness of different flavors, the creativity, the willingness to try. I think sometimes we have great classical dishes happening in Europe, but if it's a deviation, could we use olive oil instead of butter or sesame oil or just other proteins or produce? They're very, focused and strict, and this is how you make a pomodoro or ragu. But I think Asia is more adaptive. They're like, okay, whatever's around me. And I think Asia has a lot more quick cooking. Everything's in the wok, everything's very fast. And I think it's a great way to incorporate heat into the food. So, we can be inspired by other cuisines, and I think it's, there's a lot more history in European cultures, but I think it's also time to revolutionize a little bit and see what else is happening around the world.
Right, well, let's get to it.
Okay, that's looking good.
Yes.
So what's the program, Tim? Where are we going?
So we've already pre-cooked some pearl barley, so you can see they're nice and plump.
Yeah.
Right, so that's going to be the base of our salad. Depending what kind of barley you have, some might take about 15 minutes, some 20, some a bit longer. But basically, you just want to cook it till it's soft. So you can see here, you can try one. A bit of al dente. It's fine.
A little bit more, I think.
Yeah, a little bit longer. Alright, so we'll just let that simmer, going along. What we're going to do, we're going to make our salad first. So we're just going to chop up some Mediterranean vegetables. So we got some lovely eggplant, zucchini. We could even put some chili through, some red peppers. We've got some nice local cherry tomatoes. So these came from Malaysia, I would say. So we can use some of these, and then we can saute a few off, just roast them a little bit.
Yeah.
And then some of them we can just do some fresh ones also. Yeah, so then coriander, we'll use a little bit of acid from the lemons just to dress our salad. And lots of fresh herbs. So we got some, this is Thai basil here. So it has a very strong, pungent flavor. Okay, then we've got some spring onions, some coriander. So it'll be a little bit more Asian inspired, the salad. And we have some nice garlic falling on top. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All
And
right.
wash that down. We've got some Italian wine.
There you go, sir.
One for you as well. Where was the wine from, Mike?
From Jubilant.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Cheers.
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 this will go nicely with the nice salad that we're preparing. All right, so let's start off with some eggplant. We'll do half a zucchini maybe. Just like some nice small slices. Just think of a salad. I'm just going to heat up a frying pan. Right, yeah, we can cut maybe lengthwise, and then like this, 3mm kind of circles. So basically, we're just going to cook off all our vegetables first, right? So I'm just going to heat up a frying pan.
So which oil are you going to use?
So, okay. Now, they say that you shouldn't cook with extra virgin olive oil. And the reason why they say that is because it has a low, smoke point, right? So basically, it starts to burn at a higher temperature. But we just want to saute the vegetables, not too much heat. So actually, I'm actually okay to use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And we'll use the Italian one for this. We're just going to just a little drizzle in the frying pan. The Mediterranean diet loves olive oil. They prefer olive oil and everything. We're just going to put some eggplants in here. Cook it off. So I'm not heating up my frying pan too hot. I'm just chucking it straight in. Put that eggplant in. The eggplant soaks up that olive oil a little bit. But it's not going to be too greasy because we've got all these other ingredients coming in. So we'll make it like a bit more of a salad.
Salt, pepper.
Yeah, I think salt, pepper, a bit of garlic in here. And I'll drop in a bit more so you see that. Okay. Just a little bit of olive oil.
I love the way you drizzle olive oil. You were born Italian.
Yeah.
In another way.
Just a little bit of salt, pinch of pepper.
And what's the greatest joy of teaching kids?
I think it's introducing them to new flavors actually. So like a lot of kids don't eat mushrooms or they don't eat like spinach or zucchini, and that's because they just don't understand it, right? But once you get them to cook with it, you break it down, you make it exciting, fun. You're like, oh, it's actually a great vegetable.
Yeah.
Or like, mum doesn't cook this like this. Like, it's like, yeah, because mum probably doesn't put so much olive oil.
It all comes back to olive oil every time, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, we just want to cook these off, the eggplants a little bit. So it's kind of like grilling them, So if you had a nice grill plate, you can grill them. I've just got the zucchini. Spring onion we can do later. Sir, you can help me put this over to one side. We're going to, capsicum we can cut into like little cubes. So, quick trick is you cut the top off the capsicum so it's nice and flat, and then we just cut around. So you see here, so then you don't get the little veins. Right?
Learn something new.
Learn something new today. Okay, I'll do with the other one. So then you just get this ribs. Okay. So yeah, so take off the top first. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Then you can put it nice and flat, and then you're just gonna run your knife around. So basically, for the eggplant actually has a lot more flavor once it starts to char a little bit. So once it starts to go a little bit black, Mike, right? Then we kind of know it's ready. Alright.
It smells fantastic.
So you see here that we get this nice little like burnt bits. That's fine. So it just browns a little bit, just charcoals, and then
It smells gorgeous.
yeah.
And how would you like me to cut?
Yeah, like we can do cubes. Yeah. Now, Mediterranean diet, you can also have fresh vegetables, right? It doesn't always have to be cooked down and processed, right? Yeah, so we'll keep that fresh, so that we have that just balance, some nice crunchiness right through the salad.
Spectacular. Oh, I can't wait to try this.
Okay, so eggplants are done. I'm just going to chuck them into a little bowl, and then second process with the zucchini. So I'm just going to put my zucchini in first, glug of olive oil.
You can never have too much olive oil.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think is like people think that there's a lot of olive oil or there's a lot of, but actually the amount that you're eating is actually less, right? Because the oil, because of the fiber and all the vegetables, they fill you up a lot faster than eating rice or noodles. And actually, I don't use garlic now because if I put the garlic in too fast, what happens is the garlic will start to burn. right? So I saute my garlic separately and then we'll add it in. But the shrimp is going to have tons of garlic, so we don't need to add too much other flavors. Keep it very simple, very easy.
And as you said before, Tim, what's good about this is it's reasonably quick to do.
Yeah.
It's very nutritious. And it's ingredients that everybody can get access to.
And you can meal plan. You can cook all these vegetables over the weekend, and then you can, because a lot of these vegetables can be eaten cold.
Yeah.
You can cook a big batch, put them into the fridge. It'll last a couple of days. It'll last a week if you marinate it in olive oil, right?
Everything tastes better in olive oil.
Well, it is marinating, but to be honest, I like cooking fresh items also, so you don't need to cook too much, right?
So do we need to learn how to pour olive oil into it? It just looks so good when you have it at a height.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll just add these lovely chopped red peppers
Delicious.
right inside. We're pretty much ready to start on the shrimp. So you've got some garlic here, right?
Just a little.
Just a little. You know, sometimes the challenge is like one for one garlic to shrimp, right?
At least.
At least.
And if the shrimp are larger, you need bigger garlic.
Yeah.
And what about the chilies? Tim, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
seeing
so a
where
little
they
bit of
play.
spice.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, why don't we use some Australian olive
Perfect.
oils? You know?
Perfect.
So all the vegetables were cooked in the Italian olive oil, and then we'll use some Australian olive oil.
Okay.
One for you.
Thank you.
Alright, so but Mike, you gotta close your eyes because you don't know which one you're getting first, okay? So we're gonna see if you can know the difference between the two, okay? That's the bottle one, okay?
Paul, can you come
It's
and
slightly
try to
darker in
Yeah.
colour. Yeah, please. It's thicker. It has a strong olive aroma.
Yep.
It's slightly more powerful.
Okay.
I'd say it's the Italian one.
Maybe we tried the other one yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me try.
behind door number 2.
Behind that's the one too.
This is lighter, fresher, it's less dark. Oh, that is from a cool climate. My guess is the Australian one.
Okay.
You're absolutely
Spot
right.
on. Okay. Your grandma's not rolling in the bread. Okay, so my pan's up at the moment. I've just got some garlic in here. Now with the chili, the spicy part's actually the seeds. So I just roll my chili a little bit, like this. Okay.
I did that with lime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a similar principle. You're bruising, but what actually is happening is you're trying to get rid of all those seeds. So I'm just rolling the chili, and then I'll take off the top, and then if I just tap down, all the seeds come out.
Oh, that's
Right. So then I get the nice chili flavor, but I don't get all of that spiciness from the seeds. So I'm just gonna open up my chili with a nice sharp knife.
The heat from the chili comes from the seed.
Yes, from the seeds. Just gonna finely slice the chili up. All right. So I think I'm going to use the less fruity, a little bit more cool climate olive oil. A couple of glugs of olive oil. And then we're just on a medium temperature. And, yeah, I love oil. I think people sometimes are too scared to use oil because they think it's unhealthy, or they're deep frying or something. But the reality is, like, if you're using a good oil and you're cooking properly, it's fine. Like, and I'm just going to cook this like I'm kind of like poaching, like confit, right? I don't need to have a high temperature. I'm not cooking it until it's all splattering. I just want to kind of just get those prawns cooking in this lovely garlic, olive oil, bit of chili inside, just on the side.
What an array of colours. Wow.
That's another thing, Mike. Thanks for bringing it up. Cooking with colors, right? You know, like think about like all the different flavors and like cooking the rainbow. So like we've got some red eggplant, green zucchini, we've got some red tomatoes, we've got some green herbs, we have some yellow lemons, right? So it just makes it more fun, and then you kind of know that you've got lots of different vitamins, nutrition,
Oh yeah.
everything.
So,
And
Cheers.
by nature of their colours, they're coming from different places.
Exactly.
so part of the Mediterranean diet is being able to cook with a glass of wine.
Yeah. And I think the problem is like when we cook at home most of the time, we're always stressing out. We're just like, let's just get a meal on the table.
Right.
Whereas I think when you cook with, not to be cheesy, but when you're just cooking because you enjoy the cooking process, you're more relaxed, it's more fun, you're more excited about the food, you have a little bit more fun, right? I think you have to love to cook first, right? It's like anything. You've got to appreciate it or get excited about the cooking before you start cooking. If you cook because it's a necessity, you'll never love doing what you do. So the shrimp cook real fast. You know, prawns are great protein, very lean, and they cook amazingly. Whether, like we've done here, we've taken the shells off, but you can actually keep the shells on. It also just slows you down from eating too fast because you actually have to kill them. And it actually keeps a lot more of the moisture in, so it gives it that nice extra flavor of juiciness, you know, when you take off those shells. So what we're going to do, we're going to finish off our pro barley salad. We're just going to add some pro barley to our salad here, a couple spoonfuls. And again, we're just going by feeling. We'll just see how we're just tossing this.
So we're nearly done.
Nearly done, yeah.
Because sometimes people are always worried that they're not going to do the right thing. Are there particular flavours that you think stay away from because they may complicate things? Or particularly with Mediterranean diet, as long as it's fresh, you can put it in there.
To be honest, I think the Mediterranean diet has less herbs and spices than, say, Asian cooking.
Right.
So, you know, salt, pepper is your friend, a little bit of garlic, olive oil, lemon, so anything citrus, and I think it's a good start, right?
You want this coriander?
Yeah, we can, anything. We can garnish, it just makes it look prettier. Doesn't mean that we're going to eat it, right? But it already makes it look more like appetizing and appealing.
Well, Tim, this has been a fantastic experience for all of you. Mike, you've done a fantastic job as well. I can certainly say for the launch of the Singapore Future Food Living Lab, we're very excited that you've been here this afternoon. So thanks for this. And please, now, would you do the honours? And,
Well,
let us
thanks
have a taste.
Adam and Mike for having me. So we did it all. So I'm just going to cut the cherry tomatoes up a little bit so we can all have a little taste. And then spoon.
How to present some of these things?
Yeah, no worries, pleasure. So a little bit of pearl barley salad at the bottom of the plate. So even when we go into the single portions, it's still always important to look at the presentation.
Yeah.
You want some black pepper?
I think we're perfect and it should be okay.
Oh, spectacular.
So I think that's when people know that there's care and attention, right? You know, which I think is a big part of the Mediterranean diet also, is just that everything is, you know, has its place.
Yeah.
It's a feast for your eyes and a feast for your taste buds.
And actually for your health also, right?
And
You know?
also for your health.
Well, that's the major thing. I mean,
That's the
Mediterranean diet, longevity, reduction in cardiovascular.
Alright, there you go, Adam.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Mike, here's yours.
Thank you, Tim.
A little piece of cutlery for each of you.
Thank you.
Alright, and bon appetit.
On that
Bon appetit. That's good.
So it really depends on like your acidity, how much like, you know, more, if you want more of a salad, you put a bit more lemon juice. But you know, for kids sometimes they don't like too much sharpness. So you just want it nicely balanced, but you don't, if it doesn't have enough acid, you'll feel like the greasiness sometimes, just from all the other ingredients. So it's just trying to balance and play around with seasoning and everything.
It's such a balance in the food. It has 3 or 4 flavors, different problems. The texture is gorgeous.
Nice enough. I like it, but I put the sharpness in it.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of spice, but it has a lingering mildness.
And then the barley's a nice balance to that too. So it softens it out.
It's like a music of flavor. You just have the shivers of flavor exploding. Thank you, Chief. This is delicious.
Absolutely
All
fantastic. Thank you once again, and we look forward to welcoming you back as soon as we can for more of these great afternoons.
Lovely. Happy to come back anytime. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Cheers, everyone.
Good, sir.
Cheers.
So it was great to be with you today in Singapore. Thank you so much for inviting us. We hope to be there soon. We wait you in Pollica, and let's remember that each time we gather around the table, we are honoring our past, we are experiencing the present, but also we are preparing ourselves for the future. Ciao!
Hi, my name is Veronica Cavallini. I'm an Italian dietitian living and working in Singapore. Before starting, I would like to thank the Italian Embassy of Singapore and the Future Food Institute in Singapore for inviting me to talk about the Mediterranean diet and to organize this very interesting event. I'm very happy to share with you something more about this diet because I think that this is the diet for life. It is sustainable, it is nutritionally complete, and it is doable in the long term. So I think that every one of us should follow this diet on a daily basis. I've prepared for you different slides, and I will start to introduce you a bit more about this diet, and then I will show you different papers regarding the association between the diet and the development and prevention of different diseases. I hope you will enjoy it, and thank you again for inviting me. So let's start with the definition of the Mediterranean diet. When we talk about diet, we usually think to something to follow for a short period of time or something to follow only to reduce weight. The Mediterranean diet is not a specific diet program, so something that you need to follow for a short period of time, but is an expression of the lifestyle developed over the years by the population of the Mediterranean area. In fact, the word diet, that in Greek is dieta, means lifestyle, way of living. For this reason, in 2010, the Mediterranean diet was inscribed in the list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity of the UNESCO. And who discovered the benefit of the Mediterranean diet? The most important researcher who studied this diet approach was the US nutritionist researcher Ansel Key. In the middle 40s, during a short military experience in Cilento in Campania, that is a part of Italy characterized by an extreme longevity of the population, he realized that the secret of this longevity could be related to their lifestyle, so the combination of diet and exercise. So without any scientific evidence, he understood that the Italian diet was leading to a better life expectancy. So in the early 50s, he started this experiment called 7-country study. This study was very huge because a sample of 12,000 people were involved, aged between 40 and 60, living in different countries. This is the first world multi-country study investigating the relationship between lifestyle, diet, coronary heart disease, and stroke in different populations of the world. During this 20 years long clinical observation, he found out that the population of the Mediterranean area had a reduced incidence of non-communicable diseases, which include cardiovascular disease, cancer, overweight, diabetes, and high cholesterol. But KEYS was not the only one study on the Mediterranean diet. Along the years, other studies were performed, and they all shows that the Mediterranean diet was beneficial to improve certain conditions and also to prevent them. Now I want to show you different studies. So for example, this one is the Predimed dietary intervention where 7,000 men and women were followed for 5 years and randomized into three different groups. So one was Mediterranean diet plus extra virgin olive oil, the other one Mediterranean diet plus mixed nut, and the other one, the control group, the low-fat diet. And what they found out with this study was that the risk of combined heart attack, stroke and death from cardiovascular disease was reduced by the 30% in the Mediterranean diet plus olive oil and 28% in Mediterranean diet plus nuts. Here again another study, part of the Predimed, and they collected data from over 1,000 participants after the first year, and they found that the diet was helping to reverse metabolic syndrome. This is another study where 400 non-diabetic participants were selected and they were followed for 4 years. They wanted basically to see who was developing diabetes type 2. And what they found was that the Mediterranean diet was effective in preventing the development of diabetes type 2. This is another study on weight loss, and they compared the low carbs diet, Mediterranean diet, and the low fat diet. And the result was that the Mediterranean diet was more effective in weight loss compared to the low fat. This is a meta-analysis on brain diseases, and here they demonstrate a positive effect for cognitive impairment, depression, and stroke. And this is another study showing that the Mediterranean diet was leading to a higher muscle mass, bone density after menopause in women. And this is another study that I wanted to show you where they found that the Mediterranean diet was linked with a lower risk of colorectal cancer, especially among Asian people and black participants compared to white participants. Lastly, I would like to share the pillars of the Mediterranean diet and which are the differences in my opinion compared to the Asian culture. So why this diet has so many health benefits? Because it is a combination of healthy food and good habits. So the first pillar is regarding the exercise. We usually do at least 10,000 steps per day, and we try to be more active in the small things. For example, taking the stairs instead of the lift or going out to work walking. We enjoy meals with family and friends, and we eat with them in a relaxed atmosphere. So we are used to cook more at home for the family, and we spend time all together at the table. So this is something that I didn't see quite often here in Asia. The majority of the patients I usually see goes out for breakfast, lunch and dinner. So they don't cook at home because no time. This is something that definitely should be improved. Cook everything from scratch with seasonal ingredients. This is another thing that not all Asian people do. There is a common trend to rely on processed food, instant noodles, and eat the food at the food court. So in this way you cannot control what there is in your plate, so you don't know how much salt, sugar, oil has been added. Another pillar of the Mediterranean diet is to eat fresh fruit and vegetables and whole grains. I think that here this one is a limitation because Singapore doesn't produce lots of fruit and vegetables, so they are all coming from overseas. And this one definitely reduces the nutritional content of the food that we eat. Another pillar of the Mediterranean diet is using good fats. So we use extra virgin olive oil for everything. Then we use a lot of nuts and omega-3 from fatty fish. We also use a lot of herbs and spices instead of salt to flavor the food. And we limit the red meat to not more than 1 time a week, and we eat more fish and poultry. Then another pillar is drink plenty of water and some red wine in moderation. Of course, the wine is optional, so if you're not used to drink it, you don't have to start now. But this one is another point that should be improved in Asia because it is very common here to eat meals with carbonated beverage. So all full of sugar, or for example cappuccino, that we are not used to do. So now that we know all the pillars of the Mediterranean diet, and that we know that there are some limitations. What we can do in order to improve our health? For sure, try to follow as much as we can all these guidelines, incorporating all the good foods and habits from the Asian culture. For example, use all the tropical fruits and vegetables available here. Use all the local herbs and spices like ginger, turmeric powder, coriander, but not only this. There is a lot of fish that can be used, so we can reduce the meat intake. We can use brown rice instead of the white one, and use all these amazing flours made by lentils, beans, chickpeas, to do some flat bread, for example. In this way we can reduce the consumption of white bread and increase the level of daily fiber.